So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. This is the second part of our lesson on Les médias for your Year 12 class and working towards reading comprehension. Okay, so on this slide you have the graph, the pie chart that we studied in part 1, and next to it is a text that actually describes this pie chart, so you can match information from one to the other. We are going to build up on what we've seen before, and starting by establishing networks of vocabulary. So remember that here we have le JT is our first occurrence here. Le JT, le journal télévisé, which we can actually link to things that we haven't really seen before. I might just change color to something more obvious. So le JT here, and le JT you want to link to this bit here, le rite de 20 heures. Le rite de 20 heures is again the same thing as le JT. Further down, a couple of lines down, you're going to have, and where is it gone? You're going to have here this, okay, ce rendezvous. Okay, again, ce rendezvous refers back to that. And again, just below, la grand-messe de 20 heures. Okay, so this really emphasizes how ritual this sort of 8 o'clock news is in France. You see le rite here, a rite, and la grand-messe, which I've mentioned before here. Okay, so a bit more vocabulary here for that on synonyms of le journal de 20 heures. Right, same text, same slide, and this time I would like to focus on figures. Not the figures themselves, of course, but on how those figures are being discussed, how they're described, and so on, with a bit of vocabulary. Now, quite obviously, the text gets very boring if all we have is the figures themselves. If all we have is 34% des personnes interrogées, and then further on 30%, and so on and so forth. So the text cannot be just a list of figures. What the authors then try to do is to sort of wrap these figures up a bit and find synonyms for them. So this is how you read it. You read things like pour plus d'un tiers, okay, which actually matches this 34% here. Okay, so remember, a bit of vocabulary here for you. So we have the one that we've got here is un tiers, okay, but we could have this, which is un quart, and we could have this, which is la moitié, okay, so ignore the figure here. You could have pour plus d'un quart des Français, pour plus de la moitié des Français. Okay, this plus de, we could have similarly moins de, pour moins d'un quart des Français. And another one that you could see would be près de, okay, pour près de la moitié des Français. So imagine the figure was 49%. Well, then you could say something like pour près de la moitié des Français. Okay, so this is vocabulary here that is used regularly for figures and that you're likely to see when somebody is describing a graph like this. Remember that we have a synonym of plus de, which I believe we have in this text halfway through. Look, I can't find it just here. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, that was a davantage de. Okay, is synonymous with plus de. Okay, another word here worth noticing when we're talking about figure, okay, is this segment here. Okay, la moyenne de. Okay, la moyenne is the average. So as a matter of fact, okay, près de la moitié de. Okay, we could actually have près de la moyenne de. Okay, close to the average of. Okay, so la moyenne des Français again is, when you're talking about figures, is going to be quite handy. Okay, 20%. Okay, or près de, so 19% here. Okay, we could describe as près de 20%. And how about something like près d'un cinquième? Okay, so this is what you would have for that. Un cinquième. Près d'un cinquième des Français. Something that appears here, okay, and again, that would be for un cinquième. You could have something like un Français sur 5. Okay, un Français sur 5. Okay, literally 1 over 5. Un Français sur 5. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, un Français sur 5. Okay, so there you go. A lot of variety in the way you can describe figures. You can relate figures if you want. So get used to all these expressions. I'll probably put an exercise in style for you after the lesson on that. Okay, that slide again, and this time what we want to do is to recognize the structure of the text, or to try and identify some of the structure in these texts. Of course, when we talk about structures and how to identify structure in the text, what we're looking at here are those infamous link words. So there's actually quite a lot of them, and if you can identify them, then you're going to be able to relate what's before the link word and after the link word, and understand the relation between the different segments. So first one that I'm really interested in is here. It's en effet. Oh, what a weak attempt at using a highlighter. Oh, I'm not being very successful here. So let me just adjust here. There we go. Won't be able to do highlighting, but I will keep circling. So, en effet here is one of the link words. The other one that I'm interested in here, and that crops up everywhere, is soit. Soit. We've got it a couple of times here in this paragraph. I really want you to know things like en revanche. And then a slightly unusual one, but we'll see that it's not that difficult, and that's in fine. I've also seen alors que in the second part of the text here, and en revanche crops up again further down here. Can't quite see it. Here we go. En revanche. Okay, so very important to understand what these do. Okay, so the link word here, en effet, at the top, is basically linking this to that, and it's telling us what the relation between the two segments are. And in this case, en effet is indeed. So what we can gather from that is that this segment here at the top, well, is similar to the segment following here, okay, wherever that stops, let's say here. And the second segment is building up on the first one. So en effet is indeed. Soit, that you come here, is not really a link word. You see that it appears in brackets. Later in the text, it also appears not in brackets, okay, but it's used to simply introduce a quantity corresponding to what has been said before, okay? So introducing a quantity corresponding to what's been said before. It's the equivalent to a slightly awkward that is to say, okay? So une source d'information importante mais pas la principale, that is to say 64%, un total de 64%. En revanche is an important one. It appears twice in the text, and it is the equivalent of however. So en revanche, you knew things like cependant. Well, en revanche is synonymous to cependant. So however, you're clearly with that opposing what is before the link words to what comes after the link words. So expect this to basically say something opposite to this. Okay, so you see here the importance of the link words themselves. Alors que, which we have further down in the text, works in a similar way. Okay, it's opposing what's before and what's after. Alors que, you would probably, translate as whereas. Okay, whereas. In fine, which we've got here in the text, slightly unusual, probably written more than spoken. It's a Latin expression, which simply means in the end. Okay, the French fin, la fin, F-I-N, the end, comes directly from the Latin fine. Okay, so in fine, in the end. Not unusual for Latin to be used in this context and to be used in French. It sort of gives an air of, you know, a bit more elaborate, a bit more educated, if you want. Okay, and finally, still on the same segment, and I've taken off the graph here to just give myself a bit more space. I'd like to come back on a little bit of vocabulary on what in French is actually called, in the context of a poll like this one, or of a study, a report, les catégories socio-professionnelles. Les catégories social, professionnelles. Okay? Les catégories socio-professionnelles. So basically, the categories that the population, or a cohort, if you want, is going to be classified in. Okay, so we actually have a lot of those here in this text, because the text is all about, you know, how do people relate to the news depending on a certain number of characteristics. So it's essentially happening in that second paragraph, and we dig a bit deeper in the text. Okay, so you see that if we take the text right from the beginning here, une place fondamentale dans une population. Okay, so une population here. Okay, it's not la population, so we're not talking about the population like the French population, for example. It's une population, really equivalent to a cohort. Okay, a cohort here for you guys. Plus rural, okay, plutôt âgé, so these are the characteristics. Okay, rural, âgé, diplômé. Okay, by diplômé they mean well educated, having a university education. Okay. Again, une population, and so on and so forth. Okay, so those categories, well, there's the first one here. Okay, les personnes sans diplôme. Now that is one of our first category. Okay, les personnes sans diplôme. We have another one here, les femmes au foyer. So sorry, les personnes sans diplôme, so people without a diploma, and by which they mean without a university degree. Okay, les femmes au foyer, we've seen that several times, so housewives. Okay, les seniors. Okay, les seniors is another one, and you get the explanation after that. Okay, so les 65 ans, sorry, les 65 ans et plus. Okay, les 65 ans et plus. Okay, so les personnes de 65 ans et plus. Remember, we've discussed that. Okay, les 65 ans et plus. Okay. This is actually the noun phrase, okay, or almost a noun, meaning the people who are 65 and over. You will find things like les 13, 19 ans. Okay, that's your noun. Okay, les 13, 19 ans, the people between 13 and 19. So, en revanche, remember I said, okay, this is going to oppose what we had before and so on. So we actually find the opposing categories. So we've got les diplômés here, and guess what? Les personnes sans diplôme. Okay. Les cadres. I suppose les cadres, sort of, they're management people. We could kind of, you know, have opposed to les femmes au foyer. We had here, okay, les habitants de zone rurale. So les habitants, key one here for you guys, of course, inhabitants. And then you've got les habitants des grands pôles urbains. Okay, so of big urban areas, urban poles. And again, you've got your examples here. They're talking about Paris, Lyon, Marseille. So again, you see how important it is to get this en revanche here, because it opposes everything that's before with everything that's after. Okay, so when you got les jeunes de 18 à 24 ans, you could actually paraphrase that in les 18-24 ans. Okay, les 18-24 ans. Okay, téléspectateurs, okay, TV viewers here. Okay, so those categories are going to come, and you've got to, you know, make sure that you understand who they actually relate to. Okay, so a new slide, a new graph, a new text, but I'm going to go much faster on that because this lesson's already a bit too long to my taste. And we're looking at exactly the same thing, okay? A bit more vocabulary, looking at link words, looking at figures and so on. So this is more like confirming what we already know. A bit of vocabulary in the context of polls and surveys. You'll see this come up a fair bit. So interroger, to ask a question. It's literally to interrogate, okay, but not without the sort of police or justice overtones that it can have in English, okay. Similarly, you see that 52% des Français déclarent. Okay, déclarer, to declare, is actually just to say, really. Okay, so but two verbs that are a bit more elaborate than what you might be used to. Talking about figures, okay, un Français sur 5, so that's something that we had earlier on. Un Français sur 5. Okay, remember, a synonym of un cinquième des Français. Okay, and what I want to highlight here again are those all important link words. So contre, against, okay, against. So basically, before the link word, you have one side of the coin. After the link word, you have another side of the coin, okay. Not surprisingly, you have 52% here, 48% here. Now the link between 52 and 42 is that contre here, against, okay. One that we haven't seen recently, I think, au contraire, on the contrary. Okay? So again, you know, opposing what's before, what's after. A new one for you, de la même manière. Okay, sorry, de la même manière. In a similar way, in a similar fashion. Okay, so expect what's here to be the continuation of what you had before. And one that, wouldn't be a problem for you, but again, the use of Latin into French, a contrario. Now, a contrario is synonymous to au contraire. Just sounds a bit more elaborate. All right, on that last and final slide, I'll let you, read through the text, but again, same structure, same link words, digging a bit more into the vocabulary here and adding to what we know already. So again, un français sur 5. Now notice that in the previous slide, un français sur 5 was 22%. Here, un français sur 5 is only 21%. Okay, so you see how you're trying to use a synonym to make your text a bit more lively. Okay, we've mentioned la moyenne earlier on, the average. Okay, so you have here plus or de plus que la moyenne, so over the average. Okay, so 18 points here over the average. Okay. Don't be too thrown off by things like une part non négligeable, okay? So using a negation, so negating a negative adjective, okay? So minus and minus makes it a plus, I suppose. Okay, so une part non négligeable actually means a rather important part, literally a part that should not be ignored, okay? Une part non négligeable, okay? We have a structure here that I would like to spend a bit of time on. Just before that, note this. I mean, not a link word as such, but a link expression, de manière assez logique, which would be equivalent to logically. Okay, so in a logical fashion. Okay, so just spending a little bit of time on this last sentence here. Okay, notons que, so let's remark that, let's note that, but that's the bit I'm interested in here. Les cadres sont 35% à préférer. Ils sont 35% à préférer. Now this, if I rephrase that, I could just simply say 35% des cadres. Remember, les cadres, management, people, managers, I suppose. 35% des cadres préfèrent, okay, le format 20 minutes. Okay, so 35% des cadres préfèrent. Well, that is actually rephrased in les cadres sont 35% à préférer. A slightly more elaborate way of saying things. Okay. That's pretty much the end of this lesson. In the style questions, I will actually add a little bit of text here, and this is the text that you find at the bottom of every survey. It tells you how the survey was conducted, who it was commissioned by, and so on. This is an important aspect of all work on surveys. It helps you, try to identify that little extra paragraph that says, this survey was done for so and so. That many people were actually interrogated, as the French say. But enough for this lesson. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you soon.